I woke up in Jordan's body. Her silk sheets tangled around legs that felt too long, too toned, like they belonged to someone who'd never skipped a SoulCycle class in her life. Her hands shot to my face, fingers tracing cheekbones sharper than mine, lips fuller. And when I stumbled to the bathroom mirror in her Tribeca loft, I saw it, my own hazel eyes staring back from her flawless caramel skin, but twisted with a rage that wasn't mine. The first words out of this stolen mouth, "You bitch. You finally did it," whispered to the empty air, because I knew right then she'd framed me for her sins. And the only way out was to burn her empire to the ground, starting with the 911 call I made on her phone, reporting Blakely Monroe for a breakdown that hadn't happened yet. It was supposed to be just another girl's night in the city that never sleeps. The kind where we nursed overpriced Rose in her penthouse and bitched about the men who ghosted us. Jordan and I had been inseparable since freshman year at NYU, her the poli-sci queen with daddy's Wall Street connections, me the psych major scraping by on scholarships and side gigs as a barista in Brooklyn. She was the firecracker, always one lawsuit away from revolutionizing something. I was the steady one, the listener who patched her up after every corporate backstab. "You're my rock, Blakely," she'd say, clinking glasses. Her green eyes, God. Those eyes now trapped in my skull, flashing with that mix of gratitude and something sharper, like she was appraising a rival. I never saw the knife coming because I was too busy handing her the sheath. That night, she pitched it casual over the third bottle, her latest side hustle, a black market neural sync tech smuggled from some Silicon Valley ghost lab. It's like VR on steroids. Babe. Swaps your consciousness for a test drive. Feel what it's like to be me for a minute.
No harm. No foul.
I laughed it off. Chalked it up to her usual hustle. Jordan had fingers in everything from crypto scams to boutique law firms, but the wine blurred the edges. And curiosity's a hell of a drug. We hooked up to the rig on her coffee table. A sleek matte black box humming like a sleeping predator. Wires snaking to electrodes on our temples. "Just 30 seconds, she promised, her voice already fading as the world dissolved into static. When I came to, it wasn't me in the mirror. It was her body, her 5'9" frame draped in that cashmere robe I'd envied, but my mind screaming inside. Panic clawed up my throat. Our throat now, as I ripped off the wires. But the device was fried. Sparks dying in the carpet. I dialed her, my old number, over and over. Voicemail picking up with my own voice. Slurry and slurred. "Hey, it's Blakely. Leave a message. Or don't. Whatever." No answer. Then the front door buzzed. And 2 NYPD uniforms were there. Badges glinting under the hallway fluorescence, responding to a welfare check from concerned friends. Jordan's doing, no doubt. They eyed me, her, like I was the fragile one, asking if Blakely had been off her meds again. That's when the betrayal hit like a subway train. Jordan hadn't just swapped us, she'd orchestrated the whole damn thing. Flashed back to 6 months ago, when she'd shown up at my cramped Bushwick walk-up, tears streaming, confessing she'd cooked the books at her firm, siphoned $2 million from client trusts to fund her senatorial run. "I need you to vouch for me, Blake. Say, I was with you that night. You're the only one I trust. Stupid. Loyal me. I'd lied to the auditors. Forged a timestamp on my phone's location data. Covered for her like always. Because, what are best friends for? But now, in her skin, scrolling her encrypted laptop while the cops milled outside, I found the emails to a shady neurohacker in Queens. Blueprints for a permanent swap. Alibis lined up to pin the fraud on me. She'd labeled me unstable in therapy notes she'd planted, bipolar, delusional. The works, doctored by a shrink on her payroll. The diagnosis? A preemptive strike to discredit anything I said post-swap. Blakely's cracking. One red. Time to activate Plan B. I slammed the laptop shut. Her heart, pounding like a jackhammer. The cops knocked again, and I opened the door in her robe, channeling every ounce of her Ice Queen vibe. Officers. Thank God. My friend Blakely, she's downstairs, ranting about body swaps and conspiracies. I think she's off her meds. Can you check on her? They nodded. All business. And I watched from the window as they hauled my old body, Jordan puppeteering it like a meat suit, into the back of the cruiser. She played it perfect. Disheveled hair. Wild eyes, mine. Now hers. Mumbling about stolen lives. By morning, I'd be Jordan Hayes, rising political star. And she'd be me, the nut job committed to Bellevue. Her fraud buried under layers of my fabricated crazy. But I wasn't going down like that. Not without dragging her into the abyss with me. First move, access. Jordan's life was a vault of keys, her firm login, her Rolodex of DC fixers, her crypto wallet fat with dirty money. I showered in her rainhead fixture, the steam clearing my head as I plodded. Her body moved like silk over glass. Efficient. Powerful. Mine had always been a little soft around the edges. The barista slump from 12-hour shifts. This felt like armor. By dawn, I'd wired 50 grand to an offshore account, hers, rerouted through mine, and booked a flight to DC under her name. No, not flight. Private jet. Courtesy of a senator buddy, she kept on speed dial. The controversial call? I texted him a teaser. Need your ear on a fraud bigger than Enron. Meet in your office. Discretion assured. Risky as hell. If she caught wind, she'd spin it as my paranoia, but power like Jordan's was built on secrets. And I was about to weaponize every one. Touchdown at Reagan National felt like stepping into a viper pit. DC in late fall. Crisp air laced with diesel and ambition. Monuments looming like judgmental gods. I hailed a black town car, Jordan's go-to, and leaned back, scrolling her contacts. There was Marcus, the embezzlement whistleblower she'd silenced with a payoff. Elena, the intern who'd resigned after alleging harassment. Threads of her web, all leading back to that night in her office when she'd greenlit the skim. I could smell it on her clothes still, that faint ozone from the copier where she'd printed the falsified ledgers. My mistake? Trusting her tears. Vouching blind. Now, in her heels clicking marble halls, I was the ghost come calling. The senator's office was all mahogany and flags, the kind of room where deals died in whispers. He greeted me, her, with a bear hug, mistaking the steel in my spine for her usual charm. Jordan, you look intense. What's this about? I slid a USB across the desk. Files I'd pulled from her cloud, timestamps, wire transfers. My forged alibi circled in red. It's me, Senator Blakely.
She swapped us.
Framed me for her crimes. His laugh barked out. Genuine confusion. Swapped? Jesus. Jordan. Lay off the edibles. But I leaned in, voice dropping to that confidential purr she mastered. Check the drive. And her blood work from last week. Off the books. Neural markers don't lie. He did. Brow furrowing as the evidence bloomed on his screen. The hook sank deep. Not just fraud, but tampering with experimental tech, FDA violations that could torch his party's funding pipeline. "This is dynamite," he muttered, eyes flicking to the door. "But if you're her friend..." I cut him off, the decision slicing through me like glass. "Controversial." "Yeah, because it meant doxing half her network. Leaks that'd ripple through innocence too. Leak it anonymously. To the Post. Tonight. Or I go public with your texts, the ones about creative accounting for the PAC. Blackmail." The word tasted like ash, but it was her playbook, flipped against her. By evening, the story broke. Wall Street darling accused of multi-million fraud. Her face, my old face, splashed across CNN. Bleary-eyed from the psych ward. Denying everything in a straitjacket statement her lawyers fed the press. I watched from a Georgetown hotel bar, nursing a neat scotch, her poison, feeling the first crack in her facade. But revenge isn't a sprint, it's a slow bleed. And I was just warming up. Jordan's power wasn't in boardrooms, it was in the shadows. The whispers that toppled rivals. I'd learned that watching her climb.
Now.
I'd use it to pull her down, one thread at a time. The calls started flooding in, furious clients, panicked allies. I fielded them in her clipped tone, sowing doubt. Blakely's unstable. Always has been. But this? It's a setup. Lies layered on lies. Her web tangling. Sleepless nights blurred into strategy sessions with her, my mirror self, practicing the micro-expressions that sold her bullshit. God. Her body betrayed nothing. No tremors. No tells. Mine had always twitched under stress. A giveaway in poker nights we'd shared. This was freedom. In a twisted way, untethered, unblinking. A week in, the first real pushback hit. A burner phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. Her voice, mine, hissing through the line. "Blake, that you in my skin?
Cute.
But you're playing with fire. I've got your body doped to the gills, lithium. Benzos. You'll crack before I do."
Click.
Chills spidered down her spine. She was in Bellevue. But not broken, scheming. Always scheming. The diagnosis she'd planted? It was halfway real now. My old shell, a cocktail of meds turning thoughts to fog. I could picture it. Nurses charting delusions of persecution, her green eyes, mine, plotting escape. Time to escalate. I hit up her fixer, the Queen's neurohacker.
Posing as a panicked Jordan.
The swap's glitching. Need the reversal. Double your fee. He bought it. Meeting in a dingy warehouse off the Anacostia. Reeking of motor oil and regret. Skinny guy. Tattoos snaking up his neck. Eyes darting like minnows. Permanent job.
Huh? Risky.
But cash talks. I nodded, slipping him the envelope, 20 large, tainted, and as he unpacked the rig, I palmed the USB drive with his client logs. Evidence trail, Jordan's payments, timestamps matching the fraud. One more leak,
and he'd fold.
But he paused, scanner beeping over my temple.
Wait.
Markers are inverted. You're not her. Heart stop. I lunged, her body's reflexes kicking in, yoga honed, lethal. Grabbed a pipe from the workbench, swung low. Crack, his knee buckled, screams echoing off concrete. Controversial? Hell yes, assault in a city that'd crucify me for less. But I needed him alive.
Talking.
Fix it, or the feds get your hard drive. Your call, he babbled, spilling. Jordan had commissioned the swap months back. Tested on junkies first. She's connected.
Mun.
Deep state shit. I zip-tied him. Left him for the cops' anonymous tip, of course, and walked out into the rain. Drive burning a hole in my pocket. Back in the hotel. Scrolling the fallout. Her firm suspended. Donors fleeing like rats. She was cornered. But cornered animals bite. The next morning, a package arrived, FedEx. No return. Inside, a vial of clear liquid. Note in her scrawl on my old stationery. Antidote. Or poison. Your move, bestie.
Game on.
The vial sat on the windowsill like a dare from the devil himself, catching the weak DC sun in a prism of lies. I, Jordan's vessel, paced the suite, her Louboutins sinking into the plush carpet, mind racing through scenarios that'd make a thriller novelist blush. Inject it, and maybe I snapped back to my soft-edged self. Just in time for the cuffs. Ignore it. And she'd weaponize the reversal remotely, leaving me a vegetable in her designer corpse. Either way, it screamed trap, laced with that signature Jordan flair, elegant cruelty wrapped in plausible deniability. But here's the rub. In her skin, I felt invincible. Her confidence a drug seeping into my veins. Walking her halls of power, I'd tasted the forbidden fruit of unearned respect. The nods from suits who once dismissed me as Jordan's charity case. Handing it back? That'd mean surrendering the only leverage I had. Her life. Dismantled brick by brick. I flushed it down the toilet instead, watching the swirl like a bad omen, and called in reinforcements. Not cops. Too clean. Too slow. Her black book had dirtier options, a PI named Rocco. Ex-NYPD, with a grudge against white-collar crooks. Hayes. I purred into the phone, voice all honeyed steel. Need eyes on Bellevue. Patient. Blakely Monroe. Discreet. He grunted. Quoted a price that'd buy a Brooklyn brownstone, but bit when I dangled her offshore accounts as bait. On it,
Boss.
But if this is personal, it was biblical, but I let him think it was business. Rocco's report landed by courier that night, grainy photos of me in the ward, pacing like a caged panther. Green eyes, hers, puppeteering my face, darting to corners. Notes from shrinks. Patient exhibits grandiose delusions, claims identity theft via experimental procedure. History of instability corroborated by close associate, Jordan Hayes. Close associate. The knife twisted deeper, carving out chunks of our history I'd romanticized. Flash to college, her breakdown after Daddy's insider trading bust. Me holding her hair back over dorm sinks as she puked up secrets. You're the only real thing in my life. Blake. Lies. All of it. She'd been grooming me as the fall guy since day one, planting seeds of doubt in group chats. Therapy sessions I'd never attended. The crime I'd shouldered? Not just the fraud, deeper, darker. Buried in Rocco's file, a hidden run from Spring. Her Beamer clipping a cyclist on the FDR. Witness paid off with my forged signature on the NDA. I'd signed it blind, thinking it was for her parking ticket. Now that blood was on my hands, or would be, if she pinned it. Sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. Not with her empire crumbling under my sabotage. The post-leak had snowballed, congressional hearings announced. Her senatorial bid a punchline on late-night monologues. I leaned into it, granting anonymous interviews to podcasters, Jordan's dulcet tones spinning yarns of corporate greed, dropping breadcrumbs to her rivals. Controversial move number 2, I funneled her crypto to activist groups. The ones she'd labeled terrorist sympathizers in private emails. 50 grand to Black Lives Matter proxies. 20 to immigrant aid, money from her fraud, redistributed like Robin Hood on steroids. The backlash was instant, trolls dubbing her a woke hypocrite, death threats clogging her inbox. I read them aloud to myself, her laugh bubbling up unbidden.
Dark.
Yeah, profiting from chaos I'd sown, but it felt like justice. Raw and unfiltered. The American dream inverted. Word from Rocco. She was angling for release. Charm offensive on the docks. Monroe's stabilizing, the eval read. Inside intact. Bullshit. I knew her tells, the way she'd bite her lip before a lie. A tick my old body lacked. Time to tighten the noose. I flew commercial this time, ironic, slumming it in coach to blend, and checked into a Fleabag motel near the psych hospital. Hood up. Her designer coat swapped for thrift store gray. Bellevue loomed like a concrete monolith, chain link and floodlights screaming institutional hell. Slipping in was child's play. Her name opened doors. Even here. I bribed a night nurse with a crisp 100, Jordan's wallet. Endless, and waited in the shadows of the rec room. Heart hammering as Blakely shuffled in for lights out meds. There she was, my body.
Gaunt from the drugs.
Brown curls limp. But those eyes, green fire, locked on mine like heat seekers. You, she mouthed. No sound. As the nurse dosed her with a plastic cup of pills. I stepped forward. Casual. Her face inches from mine, our faces. A funhouse mirror of stolen souls. Miss me? Bestie, I whispered. Syringe palmed from the supply cart. Filled with saline placebo panic. Her hand shot out. Nails digging into my arm. Her arm, drawing pinpricks of blood. Give it back, she hissed. Voice a gravelly wreck from the sedatives. This was mercy. You were drowning in mediocrity. I made you relevant. Mercy? The word ignited something feral. I jabbed the needle into her thigh, my thigh, empty threat. But her scream echoed, muffled by the ward's white noise. Nurses swarmed, restraining me as I backed away, her eyes promising Armageddon. You're unstable.
Blake.
Always were. They'll see. But I was already gone, slipping out into the Jersey night. The close call a jolt of adrenaline.
Back in D.C.
The headlines shifted. Fraud queen attacks attacker in psych ward meltdown. Spin it how you want, victim or villain, but the narrative cracked. Doubts seeding in her allies' minds. The unraveling accelerated. Her fixer flipped under FBI heat. The Queen's hackers' logs painting her as the architect of unsanctioned human experiments, ethics violations that'd make Frankenstein blush. I orchestrated it all from her, no. My commandeered townhouse in Georgetown, walls lined with books she'd never read, just for show. Nights blurred into code dives. Hacking her smart home to eavesdrop on board calls. Panic. Accusations flying. Jordan's lost it, one exec whined. I smiled into my wine. Her vintage Bordeaux. Toasting the fall. But power's a double-edged blade. In her body, doubts crept. Was I becoming her? The lies flowed easier. The moral gray smudged to black. Controversial decision 3. I seduced her campaign manager, a slick lobbyist named Trent, in a bid to extract dirt. His hotel room reeked of cologne and desperation. Her body responded on autopilot. Curves and confidence closing the deal. Pillow talk yielded gold, tapes of her bribing officials. Enough to bury a presidency. But as he snored, guilt gnawed, using her sexuality like a tool. reducing myself to the very manipulation I'd hated. Dawn brought the hammer. A raid. Feds at the door. Warrants waving like flags of surrender. I played innocent, Jordan through and through, inviting them in with coffee and alibis. Blakely's framing me. She's obsessed. But they had the vial, traced to a lab matching the swap rig. Neural residue. MS.
Haze.
Care to explain? My bluff cracked. Just a hair, but enough. As they cuffed her contacts, I slipped a burner to a junior agent. Check the patient logs. Swap signatures. The seed planted. Her endgame teetering. She called that night. Collect from the ward. Upgraded to isolation now. You think you're winning? This body was your cage. Mine's the key. Laughter. Brittle. But I hid the real secret. The one you covered for, the baby. Baby? Flash. 2 years back. Her panic room abortion. Me driving her to the clinic at dawn. Holding her hand through the haze. No one knows, she'd begged. I'd buried it deep. Deleted records. Even faked her alibi at a gala. The hit-and-run cyclist? Pregnant. Jordan's secret sin. Outsourced to my loyalty. DNA's yours too.
Blake.
You signed the consent forms. Accomplice. The world tilted. Betrayal's depths. Endless. I'd suffered, not just for fraud, but for her erasure of life, mine. Now, in the crosshairs. Rage boiled. Pure jet fuel. I hung up, booked the jet back to New York. Climax called, no more games. The reversal waited in Queens. But first, her. The chopper blades thwacked like a migraine as we skimmed the East River. Manhattan's jagged teeth rising to swallow me whole. In Jordan's body, still hers. For now, I gripped the leather seat, vile shards of our history cutting deeper than any blade.
The baby.
That word unearthed graves I'd helped dig. Nights I'd spent erasing her from search histories. Vouching to mutuals she'd been out of town. Accomplice? Legally. Yeah, accessory after the fact. If the hidden run tied back. But morally, I'd been her shield. Blind to the monster beneath the mascara.
Now.
Hurtling toward Bellevue at dawn. Her empire in smoking ruins. Firm dissolved. Bid aborted. Allies scattering like roaches. I craved not just reversal, but revelation. Make her wear the weight. Publicly. Unfiltered. Controversial to the core. Expose the swap. The secrets. Damn the fallout. Let the world debate if I was avenger or villain. Savior or psycho. The hospital loomed. A brutalist beast under sodium lights. As I flashed her credentials at the gate, senator-level pull. Even in disgrace. Inside. The psych ward hummed with fluorescent despair, moans from distant rooms. The tang of bleach masking something fouler. Nurses parted like the Red Sea. Jordan's name was a talisman. Even here. They led me to isolation. A padded cell with a plexiglass slit. And there she was, my body. Shackled to the bed. Eyes hollowed by withdrawal. Skin sallow against the white. Blake, she croaked. Voice cracking like old vinyl. No fight left. Just Cunning's husk. I pressed close to the glass. Our faces inches apart. Mirrors of theft. You win, she said. Chains rattling. Body back. Secrets out. But you'll rot with me.
Lies. Her last gasp.
I shook my head. Her curls bouncing.
No.
I end this. The swap. The fraud. The girl you erased, all of it. Live feed to the networks. Your confession. Or I walk. And the feds get the nursery cam footage from the clinic. Bluff. Mostly, I'd scrubbed that tape years ago. But her eyes, green, predatory, flickered. The hook bit. You wouldn't. Sisters? The word curdled. You made me your scapegoat. Unstable. You called me. Now prove it. Who's the real fracture? She cracked then, words spilling like blood from a vein, the swap's genesis in her paranoia. Fearing exposure after the hidden run, the neurohack a desperate bid to vanish into my invisible life. You were always the good one.
I needed that.
Good one. The irony burned. I'd borne her sins, fraud signatures, NDA lies. Even the clinic drive because loyalty's a chain forged in dorm room confidences. But the twist loomed, unspoken. Her voice wavered on the baby's detail. Not just any girl.
Ours.
Surrogate mix up your egg, my womb. I couldn't. The scandal. Ours? The room spun. IVF docs I'd signed as witness, thinking it her solo vanity project. DNA tied us both, sisters in blood, now in crime. The reversal sheet hidden, not poison, but parody. We'd fall together. Rage crested, decisions crystallizing in the chaos. I smashed the emergency button, alarms wailed, guards rushing, and as they burst in, I screamed it all. She's not me.
Body swap.
Check the neural scars. Chaos erupted. Plexiglass shattering under a guard's boot. Her body, mine, lunging wild. We grappled in the melee. Fists flying, her precision against my desperation, nails raking cheeks that matched. Controversial climax. I pinned her. Syringe from my pocket, real this time. Reversal serum bartered from the hacker, plunging into her neck. Back to hell, I growled, as the world blurred. Static again. The rig's hum fading. I came to in my body, soft, scarred, familiar, cuffed to a gurney in the air. Jordan's form convulsing nearby under restraints. Feds swarmed, badges flashing. As medics scanned, neural inversions confirmed, logs from the Queen's lab corroborating. The truth inverted, not her framing me alone, but us entangled, accomplices in a web of our making. Her confession tape, smuggled out by Rocco Midraid, hit the wires live. Fraud. Manslaughter. The swap's horror. Blakely was my mirror. She sobbed to the camera I'd rigged. I broke us both. Trials blurred into a media circus. Court, TV gold. Pundits debating ethics of tech taboo. Forgiveness versus fury. I testified in my own voice. Shaky but sure. Laying bare the betrayal's bones, her labeling me unstable to mask her fractures. The diagnosis, a forgery that boomeranged. Controversial calls haunted the cross-exam, my leaks that hurt innocence. The seduction tape leaked by accident, or was it the assault on the hacker that skirted vigilante justice? Was I hero, reclaiming my life, or monster, mirroring her sins? The jury split hairs, her 15 years on fraud and manslaughter, me, community service, probation, a slap for the assaults. Mitigating loyalty, the judge drawled, Brooklyn accent thick. Happy ending? In fragments, my barista gig upgraded to consultant gigs on ethics panels. Scars fading under therapy that's real this time. But nights, I wake sweating, feeling phantom silk sheets, wondering if echoes of her linger in my veins. Jordan rots in federal gray. Appeals denied. Her green eyes dimmed in mugshots. Last letter. You were always the strong one. Forgive. I burned it. Ashes scattering in the Hudson wind. But the debate rages in me. In headlines, redemption or ruin, sister slayer or survivor. In America's funhouse, truth's just the biggest lie we tell ourselves. And me, Blakely Monroe. Unstable no more diagnosis proved it was her all along. Or was it us?